And welcome to Ridgecrest Talk, your host Paul Vanderwerf. This evening's topic is gardening and the annual flower show. We have two guests from the Oasis Garden Club of Indian Wells Valley, Marilee Ray, who is this year's president, and Donna Thomas. Marilee, let's go ahead and start. Welcome to the show. Why don't you just tell us a little bit, I'm sure you've been involved with gardening a little bit, but how long have you been involved with gardening here in the Valley?
Too long. No, probably, I joined in 1980, so that's 34 years old. Yeah, and I've seen a lot. I've seen them come and go, but we just keep right on trucking. We just keep going.
All right, so you're one of the new kids with the Garden Club, only 34 years.
Yeah.
The club is, what, 55, 56 years old now?
56.
It's
57.
Going on 57.
Yeah.
And so this club goes way back, back to the days when everybody lived on the base, and the kids were on the base, and everybody was involved in so many of those activities.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I had actually talked to some of the members of the Desert Planters Garden Club, which had been around for 50 years, and that just folded this last summer. And so now the Oasis Garden Club of IWV is the last standing garden club in the area.
This is true.
And with part of that, there's a lot of history, a lot of tradition, and a lot of things that people don't always think of. Why don't you talk a little bit about some of the projects over the last 30 years that you've been involved with the local garden club? What is maybe one or two or three of those things that really pop out over the years?
Well, I think probably two of my really favorite things. Donna and I went to what's that place called? Nebraska City. To receive an award for planting trees up in the forest and at the Kern River Preserve. The garden club went up there. We planted thousands of trees, physically planted them. Then we went to Washington, D.C. 3 times as winners of the Take Pride in America contest, and we went to the White House and received awards for that. Those were outstanding things in my past. But the things that we do every year, the continuing projects, the flower show, the garden tours, the plant sales, 2 plant sales a year. It just goes on and on. We have a wonderful time.
And I must admit, because I do attend the meetings and I'm involved with the garden club here in town, and it's a very active group. It's kind of neat to see the energy level and the way that everybody just takes the ball and runs with it on these different activities. A lot of times people look at conservation and civic beautification and so forth, and they don't realize, this is what's come up with these other guests that I've had the last few weeks, they don't realize how all these different groups play a part. For example, the guy who's doing the whitewater rafting down the upper Kern River, he doesn't want to be taking these guys by a bunch of trash. So what is he going to do? He's going to be involved with civic beautification, cleaning up the trash along the river, because everybody that goes up to see that area does not expect to see trash. And same thing with Aqua Bonita, the fly fishing group. They talked about how they go up and plant trees in these areas because the overall environment is so important for the different bugs that the fish eat, and then of course the fish that they like to catch. We have the Audubon Society, and the same thing. When I first went up to that Kern Preserve there in South Fork of Kern Valley, there's a huge sign there that says Oasis Garden Club of IWV, recognizing in years past how you had planted all those trees and really helped out with that preserve area. And until we had the Audubon Society on, I had no idea how important that was. And I think even when you grow up here, I grew up here, and I remember you from the early 70s, working in the youth center and over at the gym on the base with the kids.
Yeah.
And the first thing when I came to a garden club meeting, I said, "You're familiar. I remember you from somewhere." And even though we're in the community and we're doing all these different things, we still have that tie-in with the civic beautification, with these projects, the trees, planting the trees up in the mountain areas. There's another program that that I remember asking about when I first came to a meeting is Penny Pines. Why don't you tell us a little bit about the Penny Pines program that you have?
The Penny Pines program is a program with the Forest Service, the National Forest Service. You plant trees, little seedlings, 2-year-old seedlings in burned out and devastated forest land. The club itself now has 117 plantations. They're $68 per plantation, and we get a certificate every time we plant. When we went to Washington, D.C., we used those plantings. We went up with the Forest Service in very, very early spring when there was still moisture in the ground. It was a messy, messy job, but we had such a wonderful time, and we planted several plantations up there. It's especially now, it's an important project, and anybody can get involved in it through the Forest Service. Anybody can.
Right. So Penny Pines is actually a project that's nationwide with garden clubs all over, and everybody's getting involved, right?
It was basically first with California garden clubs, but I think it has gone.
It has expanded
to the national
greater
level.
as the years have gone on. It's just one of the neat things. It's like a best practice. When one club gets involved with it, the next group says, "Hey, how can we help?" And then it expands and expands, and pretty soon you have a lot of people getting involved.
Right.
And here in the Kern Valley, even here in the Indian Wells Valley, we've had some of that smoke blowing over from their fires just this last year. And those areas in Wolford Heights and near Kernville, even south of Weldon that have had fires this year, this helps to replant, reforest those areas that get burned out. And so you're talking 117 at $68. That's probably about $7,000 that's just been raised by local people, local members, and donated for that. And now I think they've said that they have like a contract group that goes in and plants them and gets them done.
Yes.
But in years past, you guys would put on the boots and hike up there and plant them yourself.
Yep. Stand our jeans up in the corner in the evening. Yeah, yeah, yeah. It was good. Yeah.
And I'm sure those at a certain point become memories, but those memories are the history of our community, and that's something to take pride in. I think the Audubon Society has a name that's combined. But we're going to go ahead and talk some more, but let's go ahead and break. Paul Vanderwerf with Ridgecrest Talk. We'll be back right after this. And welcome back to Ridgecrest Talk. Your host, Paul Vanderwerf. Tonight's topic, the Oasis Garden Club of the Indian Wells Valley and their flower show coming up at the fair this week in just a few days. And our guests, current president Marilee Ray and Donna Thomas. Marilee talked about some of the programs and some of the past success here in the Valley. Donna, why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little about your history and your experience with the organization.
Okay, I moved here from the Midwest, Missouri, and when I moved out here I thought, well, I better learn how to garden in this area because it's totally different from the area where I grew up. And so that's why I got involved with the garden club and started attending the meetings to find out what things grow here and how it's necessary to water here, because in the Midwest we just wait for it to rain. But not here.
Yeah, I can tell you that's a little bit different going back to Kansas City and over to Missouri for the barbershop school they have there. Everybody sits around the restaurants and they're talking about crops and what the weather is, and that's just a complete different lifestyle than when you come out here. So you're one of those people that had the shock of coming to beautiful Ridgecrest and saying, how am I going to grow anything
right,
here?
Right. And the flower show really helps as an educational outreach and an effort. We have on display specimens from different plants, trees and shrubs and flowering plants that do well in our area. And so it's an opportunity for people to go and see the plants, see what it looks like when it blooms, and talk with the garden club members who are there hosting the show and find out more about gardening in this area.
Right, and just to let our viewers know, the flower show runs concurrent with the fair. As you walk into the Desert Empire Fair at the front gate, the first building on the left, Mesquite Hall, is the home of the flower show. You walk straight through those big double doors and back to the right-hand corner, you'll see all the tables laid out, and there'll be a huge number of all kinds of different plants. And not just plants, you guys also have
Fruits and vegetables.
different displays of, what else do you have? Fruits and vegetables?
Fruits and vegetables, nuts, you know, anything that's grown in the area. And also we have educational exhibits that explain about some of the California Garden Club, the state projects that we are involved with. And
right, for example, Marilee was talking about penny pines, and I remember I'd hear bits and pieces of penny pines. I was saying, what is this? But then once you see the display board and it's all laid out there in black and white, then you can say, okay, now I understand through that education display what it is that that program is doing.
Right.
And then you also have flower arrangements?
Yes, we have artistic design, floral arrangements in different categories, and table exhibition displays there as well.
And actually, although they're getting ready for the judging for this show, but for next year's show, anybody in the community can take an entry. They can go out to a plant in their yard or something that they've been growing and take a sample or clipping. For example, here I have a pomegranate called the Wonderful, which is one of the varieties. And if this was growing in my yard, I could have taken this and completed my entry form and put this into the flower show as an entry in the contest.
Right, and the information, the flower show schedule, and all the classes and categories for entering is on the website at the Desert Empire Fair. It's also available through our Garden Club members, too. And it gives you the deadlines for getting your entries in, where you need to send them, and I think it's 25 cents an entry.
So 25 cents is obviously real affordable. And it's also available to the kids, right?
Yes. Yes, we have a youth section.
So whether your school teacher decides to help organize, or sometimes some of the volunteers from the garden club will go out to the school and help them get organized.
Yes.
Or a family at home could get their kids organized and say, okay, let's go ahead and put this kind of entry. And so what's really the best way to learn about it is to come out and check it out, right?
Right. Yes.
And so, okay.
Starting Thursday night.
This Thursday night, which is Monday, so we're talking about 3 nights from now. So the fair actually opens Thursday. It runs Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Yes.
And all of those hours that they're open, that flower show is also there.
Right.
All right. Marilee, let's talk for a second. The show is wonderful and great to go and check out and learn about local plants, learn about the great programs that you guys are doing. But there's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And so for that show to be ready on Thursday, obviously you're coming in early and setting it up. What about, say, the judging? How does that judging get coordinated? Because I had no idea how much work that was.
The judging is all done by National Council accredited judges who come from all over California. They will be here Wednesday, and we have what we call a judges luncheon. They will come early and have refreshments, then we will do lunch, and then after lunch they will all go out to the building and out to Mesquite Hall and judge the show. These ladies are pretty much professionals. You know, they go to school to learn this stuff. Of course, you know about schools with National Council and California Garden Clubs, but it's a really educational thing to watch, to listen to the judges, what they have to say about certain specimens, how they look, if they're groomed or if they're not groomed, what's wrong with the floral arrangement. It's really educational.
And for what I've heard, and what Marilee was referring to, is there's certain nationally standardized classes that are taught that you can get certified in gardening, consulting, landscape design, environmental studies. And what everybody says is the hardest, without a doubt, is becoming a judge for a flower show. And so these people right now are all waxing their shoes and gassing up their cars, looking at their maps. Now, how do I get to Ridgecrest? Because they're all going to be driving up here Wednesday morning to get ready to have that lunch and then come in, and they typically have different sections that they judge.
Right.
Okay, so there actually is quite a bit of work. It's not just a local group of volunteers that are judging, but we're bringing in people from all over.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent. And so that kind of gives us the background. We want to talk a little bit more about some of the other things at the fair, as well as how people can come in and get some more. I think we're just about ready for another break here. Let me just show some of the materials that I picked up from the fair for Mike Lemming. We do have a guide that's on the internet that you can get at the door that tells you the schedule of everything at the fair that you can go to. And we do have some other fun things for the kids, but we're going to go ahead and get ready for another break. And also I want to see some of these specimens you brought in. Paul Vanderwerf, the host for Ridgecrest Talk with the Flower Show folks. We'll be back right after this. And we're back with Ridgecrest Talk. Your host, Paul Vanderwerf, talking with the Oasis Garden Club of Indian Wells Valley, who has all types of activities in the horticultural area, civic beautification, and just a great, responsible volunteer work ethic. We're talking with Marilee Ray and Donna Thomas. Marilee, we have the flower show starting Thursday. After the judging on Wednesday, the judges will look at all the plants and all the different things, and they'll put their awards out. And so when people go to the show, they'll actually already be judged and awarded, and people will be able to see all the different types of plants that are here in the valley. I see that you brought a few things that you wanted to talk about. Why don't you go ahead and show us some of your examples that you brought today?
Okay, I did bring some, and the reason I brought these, you know, we try to get the public to enter the flower show, and their response is, we don't know how. And I just want to show you how very easy it is. If you've ever gone to the fairgrounds, you notice all our tables are covered with beer bottles, okay, plain brown beer bottles. The reason for this is somebody can't use a really fancy vase with their plant or flower in it and win over the judges. Right. Everything is in a brown beer bottle, and this is the reason for that.
So that makes everybody on a level playing field. It's not who's got the best place.
There's no favoritism.
Right.
There's no, the only thing that they expect is to have everything groomed, no bugs. You know, you have to have your plants groomed, no dead leaves. The leaves of a plant can't be submerged in the water. But all you do, this is what we call decoratives, and it's just grasses. We have a whole class on just grasses. You would take 3 stems of a particular grass and put it in a beer bottle, okay? And there's a certain, what is it, 24 inches? 24 inches high. It can't be over 24 inches high. But each individual grass would go in a different beer bottle. It's as easy as that.
And so if you had a grass entry, that would be judged against other grass entries.
Yes.
And then it would actually be judged on a grander scale, like for maybe best to show or the best.
Yes, all the blue ribbons are at the end, they're judged against each other for the best of show, for the big ribbons.
Award of Merit.
Award of Merit, yeah.
Various
and
awards.
then there's actually a sweepstakes award for whoever wins the most blue ribbons. So, but everybody in the valley, I believe, has a tree or a shrub or anything, and You just cut that little guy, stick him in a beer bottle.
Didn't I just see those at the front gate at the fair? Do they have that same plant?
Yes,
they
and
do
it's
they?
in a lot of the medians along and
okay.
by the museum.
Yeah, and this is called Texas Ranger, and a lot of people in the valley grow this. Drought tolerant, very good plant, very beautiful when it blooms, but it doesn't bloom very long. I was telling Donna, you know, the morning of the show, cut your plant because it's not going to last. You want it to last while the judges are judging. So.
Right, if you cut it on Sunday or Monday, it may be done before the judges arrive.
Yeah,
right?
so that's, it's so very simple, and we do wish that the public would get involved. Yeah.
Right, and so those, I mean, when you first look at it, being me not even a gardener when I first came, I just looked at them and I was intimidated. And as you go along and you get to learn and people show you different things, and obviously you can be a novice when you first start and you learn as you go and you get a little bit better. And I went to one of the presentations down in LA. The lady was doing these for a whole large group of people how to do these fancy arrangements. And my goodness, it looked like something you would see at the five-star hotel in the lobby by the time she was done. And she just did it just like you did that one. She said, well, you stick this here, stick this there, you look at it, that's it. And makes it look easy. I think that's one of the beauties that a lot of people have in the community is they just have this touch that they can make something beautiful and presentable that they make it look easy even though it's really not. And that's one of the things I noticed. You even have isn't one of them on place settings? Isn't that one of the
table settings?
So,
yes.
So you can actually have a table setting with a very unique mixture of plates and cups and so forth that all tie in together, and that's actually a judged category.
Yes.
And so that just kind of surprised me. It's like, okay, that's a real art. You don't always think of that, but here, when you're walking around the flower show, you get to see all these different categories that have developed over the years. You're going to be there all during the fair. People can go out and check it out. You're going to have a table there with volunteers.
Hostesses, yes.
And they'll be there to answer questions.
Yes.
And so when people come out to the fair, they're going to be able to not just look at the plants, but they're going to be able to talk to a hostess and ask questions and find out more information, not just about the flowers or the show, but about the actual organization, what you guys do.
Yes.
Right.
Let's talk a little bit about that. We're going to run out of time, but how do people get involved if they're not able to go out to the fair and meet up with the garden club? How else, what are the current events that you have coming on? How does people get involved?
Well, you can always come to our meetings. We meet at the back corner of Joshua Hall on the second Thursday of each month, and then we have a board meeting on the fourth Thursday. In our next meeting, we're going to be taking a trip up to Manzanar to visit our Blue Star marker that we installed up there. These are markers that honor our veterans. And so we're going to take a trip to Manzanar. But the following month, we will be having a program that will be advertised in the paper, and it's always open to the public. Everybody's welcome to attend.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so people can find out more about you on the internet. They can look up your Facebook page. They can call or come to a meeting. The meetings are actually at the fairgrounds at the back of Joshua Hall.
Right.
The clubhouse for the garden club is there.
Yes. And then we also take part in different activities in the community. Like we will be having a booth at the Petroglyph Festival on November the 15th, along with a fellow garden club from California City. And so we always look forward to meeting people out at different community events as well.
Well, you got so many things that are going on. We didn't get to talk about your plant sales of the local plants, native plants, and drought-tolerant plants, but those are something you have twice a year. We have just so much stuff to go on. People, you need to come out and meet these ladies at the garden club and get involved. This is Paul Vanderwerf with Ridgecrest Talk, and thank you for watching this evening.